Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curd Network editor Dave Schiffel coming at you Tuesday night, just a little bit after 9 p.m. Where else would you rather be, Steelers fan, especially knowing that we've got a game coming up this weekend? And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich, Big Bro Scho. How's it going tonight?
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Got to give Marv Levy his props. He hit 100 the other day.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Marv Levy outlives Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but part of that is it's like, whoa. I mean, it's impressive to get to 100. It's also impressive to get to 4 Super Bowls in a row, and things like that. Did you know where one of his stops along the way as a head coach for college was your old stomping grounds, Coach Tomlin's alma mater? That he was the head coach?
I actually believe I knew that, yes.
At William & Mary in the 60s for several seasons. So actually turned that program around, gave them their first winning record in like forever. Because I was like, hey, I'm looking up some stuff about Marv Levy. I'm impressed that he hit 100. But you know what? The Steelers play this week. So we're going to get to and focus on that because it's exciting. We are back. I mean, Rich, think about it. We were barely into 2025 the last time we had a show to talk about a game coming up that weekend. I mean, it's crazy. It's been so long, and then now it's here. Here's another thing that's crazy to think about. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the Steelers reporting to camp the next day. 1 week ago, we were talking about, their first padded practice got rained out. It's now going to be tomorrow. Now, not only are we talking about a game coming up this weekend, you realize when we talk next week, the Steelers will have broken camp. They will have had their last training camp practice open to the public is next Tuesday.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, I knew that they were out of Latrobe by the time they played their second game, but I guess that makes sense that since their middle preseason game is a home game, that they would go ahead, break camp, do their last couple practices at the Rooney Complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes
and
sense.
Rich, I hate to do this during the show, but we actually have breaking news right now, which is going to affect this weekend and the all the preseason games, and that is there was an injury in practice today. There was a couple of them. I know Jonnu Smith left early. Will Howard left practice early. He was smiling everything on the cart, but he hurt his hand, hurt his throwing hand. This is from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, is that he suffered a fractured small bone in his hand. Sources say he's having additional tests, but it's likely no surgery is required. He's expected to miss at least 3 weeks. That's the preseason.
Yep. That was his opportunity to try to get out and show you what he's got in the game.
So, I mean, even though we're going to be talking about the depth chart because that came out today as well, this just happened. This just came here. So you know what? Let's go ahead and dive into the depth chart with this in mind to kind of break down both things as we go. Because when you look at the depth chart on offense, we'll talk about quarterback now. I actually have something else I need to talk about with the depth chart before we really get into it. But we'll go ahead and talk about the quarterback depth chart. It was mostly what was expected. It's what I expected to be going into the season. But I didn't know the Steelers would start it that way. That it went Aaron Rodgers 1, no surprise. Mason Rudolph 2, no surprise. Will Howard 3. They had already had Will Howard up to 3rd ahead of Skylar Thompson on the depth chart before the first preseason game. But now, looking at Howard missing the preseason, like Jeff Hartman said in our channel, watch him go to IR, and his season's done. if they want to,
Potentially,
if they were going to do that. Yeah, because if they're not going to get to see him, I mean, that was his chance to play in games, was going to be the preseason, and now it looks like that's going to be done. That stinks for Will. That stinks for Steelers fans. And the thing that's going to be, I don't know what's worse, because there is this contingent of Steelers fans that think because they drafted a quarterback that you need to see if he's the next guy. As Bob Labriola put in his Asked and Answered column this morning, you don't draft a quarterback on day 3 thinking he's the next guy. You draft a quarterback on day 3 thinking he's your next backup or your eventual backup. Yes, there's Tom Brady's and Brock Purdy's, and he even had another name thrown in there that I don't even, Mark Bulger, that's who it was. Yes, you get those, but those are the exception, not the rule. And that should be the expectation. But Steelers fans, a lot of Steelers fans had what I would call unrealistic expectations for Will Howard. And now I don't know what's worse, to hype up that for next year. Will Howard playing in the preseason and playing well, or Will Howard not playing in the preseason at all, is just going to make that talk continue on so much more. Rich, what do you think of all this and the quarterback depth chart and all that good stuff now that I've talked for so long?
It'll be interesting to see exactly how they decide to do things with Howard. Believe it or not, I think they do have some options there for what they could do. It might not necessarily require him going to IR.
I know it might not require it, but there's a difference between it not requiring it and them doing it.
Correct. If they do it, I'll understand why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, there are some other options there.
Mm-hmm.
Because don't forget, not only will the Steelers not see him play in the preseason, nobody else will either.
No. But what's more important to see Will Howard play in the preseason? I mean, the Steelers have his contract. Putting him on IR, it's
correct.
I don't think it's going to be a waived injured designation or anything like that. I mean, it has to be. Now that you think about it, so that's interesting. My point is sometimes you can just kind of do that to stash it. But yeah, because he's not a vested veteran, he would have to go on waivers, which is tough. It really is. So I don't know. I don't know that they'd want to do that.
I'm sure you probably have somebody in the front office right now, whether that even be an intern or somebody, digging through. They're making sure and they're digging through, looking at what all their options are, because you could get real creative with this if need be.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are ways that you can get creative with this. I would have to go through and look at all the different rules and everything to make sure that what I see is creative and work.
And that's what I need to do, which obviously I can't do now during our show. But one thing I'm going to have to look up is to remind myself at what point someone who is not a vested veteran can go on IR and not be exposed to waivers. But I wouldn't be shocked if they do it at some point and say, true red shirt season. I'm trying to remember, at what point they did it with Corey Trice.
Well, you got an answer to your question. One, Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman does not think that.
He'd go on IR now because you got to remember that because he would be subject to waivers. The whole reason that's in place is to keep teams from just taking late round draft picks and stashing them early on IR.
Yes.
To do that. That's the whole reason that's in place. So it's kind of a bummer that we even have to talk about this because that's one of the things that I thought was exciting was that, they already had Will Howard up to the third player on the depth chart, which meant you were going to get to see a whole bunch of them in the preseason. I was gonna later on ask some questions about the game coming up, and or how you thought the Steelers might play the quarterback situation on Saturday night. This could actually change it, because I think if they bring in another quarterback, they're not going to have time to play that quarterback. I think if anything, they wait and bring in a quarterback immediately following Saturday's game. If they want a fourth one in camp, if they feel like they need it in order to take some of the preseason snaps. I now think that
They may just flip flop the depth chart.
but my thing is, I wasn't sure you were even going to, I don't think you're going to see Aaron Rodgers on Saturday. I wasn't even sure you were going to see Mason Rudolph on Saturday. But now you will. Now I think you have to see.
I was
Mason Rudolph
we were
on
at least
Saturday.
I thought we were going to at least see some Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, but not, I mean, they could have said, hey, we're just going to go Will Howard, Skylar Thompson. We've got two guys. We're good to go. So now you can't go in with just one guy the whole time. So you're definitely, I mean, it takes it out of the equation. There's no question that they're going to have to do it now. So, boy, that's not how I wanted to. That's funny. Yeah.
So much for your plan right before we went on the air.
Yeah. That said, oh, yeah, we'll see how things go.
You're probably going to lose that one already. So
yeah, that's okay. But all right, so it stinks that that's going on. Let's get to the depth chart that was released today. Remember what Coach Tomlin doesn't really put a lot of emphasis on the depth chart. It's been 3 years now since we had the cut and paste component, with everything, which was kind of ridiculous. There was something included on the depth chart that was sent that was published by the Steelers media. See, there's a hidden Twitter/X account that's the Steelers PR that's only for media, and they have you have to be accepted and to even be to follow them, which luckily I am and have been for a while. So I get these notifications. But within that, they sent out a really nice looking depth chart. Some people retweeted that depth chart. A couple people I know, Brooke Pryor did. I think Mike DeFabo did. A couple other people that actually had that. No, I'm not saying that they couldn't, but they did. But one of the things they had at the bottom that I want to talk about first, they have a pronunciation guide for players, which I thought was quite interesting with some of them. So the Steelers' 5th round draft pick, Mr. Black. How were we told to pronounce his name?
Are you going to tell me?
Well, I know Jim Wexell said it was like YA. It's not. I don't think it's YA. I called
him Yahoo.
I think it's YA. Well, how would you pronounce under a pronunciation YAY? I would say yay.
Yay.
So it's YA, not YA, YA. Okay, so that helps a little bit. Okay, Brandon Eccles, they had that on there. That wasn't a problem. I've been saying Daniel Ekwale, but I've been saying 4 syllables. They have it as 3. It's Ekwale. It's not Ekuwale. It's Ekwale. So get used to that name. I think he's going to make team. That's just me. So Daniel Ekwale. Here's one that I'd listened to Jim Wexell and how he said to pronounce it, that I even gave Roy Countryman a hard time because I didn't think he was pronouncing it right. And now it looks like Roy was pronouncing it right. And that is Steelers 2024 first round draft pick, Troy Fautanu. Jim had always said pronounce all the vowels as their own syllables. Fautanu. It's not 4 syllables. It's only 3. So it's Fautanu.
Roy, I apologize for my brother giving you such a hard time.
So they had Freiermuth on there, which is interesting. My goodness, even had Miles Killebrew, Christian Kuntz, DeMarvin Leal. They had some other ones like Isezi Otomewu. Seyu Malo, been doing that guy, right? Skowronek they had on there. They even had Jonnu on there, Jonnu Smith. So I just thought I'd bring those up just because it was fun. And it was included with the depth charts. Now, let's roll with the depth chart. Let's go with it. Rich, we're going to start on offense. We already talked about quarterback, and the most interesting thing there was Will Howard being listed third. Unfortunately, then practice happened today, so that's just kind of sad. There was no surprises on the offensive line, would you say?
No, none.
No. I mean, even
Held chalk.
Yeah, even the backups, because it was Anderson at Cook as the tackles.
Yep.
Calvin Anderson, sorry. Spencer Anderson and Max Sharping at guards and Ryan McCullum at center.
Right.
And then the other guys that they had left was just there. So that was really what I expected.
Yes.
Tight end was a different story.
Yes, it was.
And here's why. Last year, the Steelers listed one starting tight end position. This year, they listed two starting tight end positions. And in one of those two positions, they listed two players. For a grand total of 3 starting tight ends. So to me, they probably did it more of a typical tight end, which was listed as Pat Freiermuth or Jonnu Smith. And then they had what I would call the blocking tight end, which they had listed as the starter, Darnell Washington. My goodness, he started more games than Freiermuth last year, so it makes sense that they did that.
And then if you really want to get cute, the fourth tight end and the tight end is listed as the starting fullback.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Connor Hayward is listed as the fourth tight end, well, because he's the next one after Darnell Washington, and he is also listed as the starting fullback with DJ Thomas Jones being listed there, which Thomas Jones was not listed as a tight end, because that you could have thought maybe they could have listed it as both. They did not. So that didn't surprise me because they have Connor Hayward listed as a fullback / tight end on the website. So that didn't surprise me one bit. So it is what it is. Anything you want to say about tight ends?
Well, I'm going to talk tight end fullback together.
Okay.
Okay. So
yes.
Now I want to know, are we going to call it 0-4 personnel, or are we technically then going to call it 13 personnel with Connor Hayward as the running back?
That's the thing. Are you going to call him a running back so it's 13, or are you going to call him the fullback so it's 0-4? I like that. That's a good question. I like that.
Yeah.
So, I think guys like Thomas Jones and JJ Galbraith, even tight end. Let's see who else? Who's the other one? Kevin Folch. I think they cut him today after they did the depth chart to add a defensive back, which I thought was funny. But so I was looking at the wrong name. But no, it's like DJ Thomas Jones and JJ Galbraith, definite candidates for practice squad, in my opinion, just because of how the Steelers want to work the tight end. Let's go running back for a second.
Okay.
No surprise that Jaylen Warren was 1. Were you surprised that they listed Kenneth Gainwell was 2 and Caleb Johnson is 3?
No.
I'm not either.
That is the Mike Tomlin. We haven't seen him in NFL game action yet, so he's staying at 3.
But
that could be different by the time we have our show next week.
That's true. But see, what I think is interesting is I think that's the big question, is at what point does Caleb Johnson move to the number 2? I think it very well could be to start the regular season. Everybody wants to have this big, especially because of fantasy football, this big conversation of how soon he's going to be to number 1.
It's no rush. Why?
Exactly. But of course, the fantasy people, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was listening to Black and Gold Blueprint, their last episode, where they were doing some fantasy stuff and some draft in there. And they're talking about by week 4. Well, first of all, you're not going to move Caleb Johnson to starter by week 4. Week 4 is when you're on across the pond, and then you have a bye in week 5. But I still don't know that it's even going to be that much that soon. People are so convinced because, and this is the reason you said, well, the Coach Tomlin thing of the rookie. You also got to remember running back is one of those different ones. That's why Najee Harris was thrown into it at the beginning. Running back just seems to be treated differently when a player is drafted. But I still don't think that the Steelers are ready to move Caleb Johnson to the majority of the carries that soon in the season. I know that's a big, and I could very well be wrong, but I don't think he's going to be the guy early, before mid-season. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's not the guy at all this season at all, meaning to get more carries. I think it's what Matt Cat is saying right here. Okay. I think this is fine. It says will be committee. This, I think, is going to be like really the first time that that it's going to be Coach Tomlin is going to do committee, because it seems like it might be better for your backs if you do committee. He's a little bit more leery of it. I don't think they're going to be leery of it this year at all, but they might. And if they are, it's going to be in favor of Jalen Warren running more, not Caleb Johnson.
Yep.
The only way Caleb Johnson sees the majority of the carries is if it's still by committee, or there's an injury. Injury changes everything, of course.
Oh yeah, as we found out 20 minutes ago.
Yes, injury changes everything. But if everything stays status quo, I'm not looking for, no injuries at all to running backs. I'm not looking for Caleb Johnson to be the starter by week 4, like some people were thinking it's going to be. I just don't get that feeling yet. And a lot of people were excited about him in the non-padded practices, and I'd talked about this plenty of other places about calm down on a rookie running back that people aren't allowed to hit. Because notice his very first padded practice, that defense made sure they were stuffing him in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So you just got to be leery of that. So I find it interesting because I'm hoping that the people that are like, is it going to be Caleb Johnson as the starter by week 1? No, it's not. Is it going to be Caleb Johnson the starter by week 4? I still say no, it's not. Is it going to be Caleb Johnson as the starter by midseason? I'm saying probably not. And is it going to be Caleb Johnson the starter at all this season? Maybe.
No,
that's the way I'm going with it.
Dave, to me, it's simple. Okay? Yeah. We'll see it on the field.
Yeah.
We'll know. The coaches will know. Everybody will know if he should be getting more touches. Then it should be if he should be the start. Like, you'll know by what you're seeing for a product on the field.
I agree. I think I could have a completely different outlook by this time next week. I could. But that's where I stand right now before he's taken a carry in even a preseason game. So that's what I'm going with. All right. One more position here before we take a break.
Yep.
All right. And that is wide receiver. Because the Steelers listed 2 tight ends under the starting, they didn't have 3 wide receivers like they did last year. It's only 2. And there was something interesting here. What I found interesting, I was not surprised one bit at the starting 2 of DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin III.
Yep. Not surprising.
Did the next one surprise you?
It did.
That it's Robert Woods and Scotty Miller?
Yep.
As the second team.
But but again, it's back to the same thing I said about the running back. Okay. Roman Wilson didn't really play last year. Right? So that's why he got bumped. Now, you could argue with Scotty Miller and Skoranek. Yeah. But they kind of just probably chose to list it out the way they listed it out because you're not going to see a ton of DK Metcalf this week. You're not going to see a ton probably of Calvin Austin III. So those other guys are going to get the chance to show do they belong elsewhere on this list.
Yeah.
The top 2 guys we all knew and they're set. The other guys are going to really get the chance here in the preseason to battle it out and get their.
And Calvin Austin III hasn't practiced the last 3 practices.
Correct.
So you might not. So I would be shocked if we don't see him Saturday. But real quick, just to run it down, first team was, as I said, DK Metcalf, CA3. Second team, Robert Wood, Scotty Miller. Third team, Robin Wilson, Ben Skoranek. Fourth team, Brandon Johnson, Rock Taylor. Fifth team, Keyshawn Williams, Max Hurlman, and then the 16th by himself is Lance McCutcheon. So here's the thing. It's also interesting to see who is behind which player. Like it went DK Metcalf, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, Rock Taylor. And then the other wide receiver position, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, Brandon Johnson. Just to know who was behind who. To me, I still think it's a bit of a hodgepodge there. And like even today, Roman Wilson was the guy getting the snaps when there was two wide receivers on the field. Only two, opposite of DK Metcalf. That's just what it was. So, I think that's really going to play itself out in the next 3 games.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about wide receiver?
No, I think, you know what I think we should do right now?
What do you think we should do right now?
I think we should take a break.
We are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll look over the defense. Live chat, you got to be thinking it's your week for 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. We've got the big question at the end. If you're with us here live, don't go in. We're not going anywhere. If you're with us here on the audio only, stick around. We'll be right back after this break.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry.
Yeah, Rich, we got to relax. Don't worry. Everything else. Let's get into it some more. Remember, you all are up for the live chat for your topic for 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. I wish I remember. We had a bunch of good ones last week. If you gave us one last week and we didn't use it, put it out there again.
Not last week. You mean the
last time? It was 3 weeks ago.
I've got them.
Oh, you do? Okay. So
Yeah.
we might keep them in the pot as well. But if you have another one, throw just 5 minutes colon and then boom, put it out there, and we'll look at those when the time comes. Now it's time to look at the defense, the depth chart of the defense. Okay, you're already laughing because you have a good one from the last time.
No,
What?
I'm laughing because all right, so folks have been chatting in the stream because Matt Cat is on there and had figured out how to change his name, his screen name on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And so you notice that he's changed it to what he uses on our website.
Uh-huh.
But he said he changed it on here because he was tired of you calling him Matthew.
That's what it said. I have to go with what it says. Yeah. Matt Cat is, I would say, if I had to, if you ask me right now off the top of my head to name who do I see the most in the comments, who would I say is our number one commenter at the website at steelcardnetwork.com?
It's
Matt Cat is what I would say.
Yep.
That's what I would say. Okay. I'm not saying he has the best comments. I'm not saying he has the worst comments. I'm not saying I'm just saying he's a very loyal commenter. And I love it. So with that said, let's go to the defense. Rich, defensive line could have been shocking if we hadn't already heard Carl Dunbar say it a while ago. And that is Derek Harmon's with the ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you had Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, Derek Harmon with the ones.
And honestly, that's not a surprise. You don't draft a guy where you draft in the first round. You know, he's going to get every opportunity to earn a spot with the ones.
Yeah.
That first round draft pick is just going to get that opportunity. And Derek Harmon has made the most of that opportunity and is listed as a starting defensive end where he should be listed.
Yeah. So, because they go D tackle, nose tackle, defensive end. That's the order that I'm reading these. So, that's why Cam Hayward was the D tackle, Benton's the nose tackle, defensive end. And the only reason they're like, what's the difference between a defensive tackle, defensive end, and a 3-4? A lot of times you will shade towards the strength, which means rather than the nose tackle might not line up directly over the center, he might be on the he might shade the center slightly one way or the other, and a lot of times he shades them towards the strength. Whichever way he shifts is generally towards the defensive end. That's the guy that could be a little bit further out. It's not always that way, but that's just kind of the way you look at it. There might be a better way to explain it that maybe someone could explain that to me sometime. Especially, in that 3-4. When I coached in what we call, you would say a 3-4, we called it a 5-2 or a 5-3 if we didn't have a strong safety. We just called them both defensive tackles, but they could shade a little bit. But anyway, it's regardless. Second team. Remember, this goes D tackle, nose tackle, D end. It goes Isaiah Loudermilk, Daniel Ekwale, and Logan Lee. And then the third team goes, oh my goodness, this is the one that I know I can't get it. I got to look at the bottom. Isezi Otomewu, okay, as the D tackle. Yaye Black, I said it wrong. Yaye Black as the nose tackle. And Kyler Ball as the defensive tackle. Then you even had Fahoko. They had him as a D tackle, not as a nose. That was interesting. And Dominic Davis thought that was interesting. But Yaye Black, here's what's interesting about him. One, he's not on the second team, which doesn't shock me as a 5th-round draft pick. But two, after they said they were going to mainly work him at defensive tackle, they did list him at nose. I found that interesting, and I actually kind of like that. What are your thoughts on the defensive line? The rest of it.
Again, I really think it pretty much held chalk. You might look at there and say, "Oh, Fahoko, look, blah, blah. Look, the guy just got the can." So,
yeah.
He's down where he should be.
And honestly, he's a prime candidate for the practice squad because of familiarity. If they don't like the other guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, nothing too surprising, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh man, that just really went from a personnel grouping, defensive line that we kind of was like, They were never terrible, but not great. But now they're looking as an entire unit much stronger than just a couple years ago.
Yeah. And here's something else that I also want to say. Notice what name I didn't say. Who's not listed with the defensive line at all?
DeMarvin Leal.
Mm-hmm. They have him strictly as outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. Now, he was playing that hybrid role and stuff last year before he got hurt. This year, he was listed as a D tackle before, and wasn't even put on the outside linebacker depth chart. That's just what he was. This year, they didn't mess around. I didn't go back to look in to see the players themselves again to see if they changed his position on the website. I didn't look at that yet to know if they had. That now that they have him as a linebacker, as an outside linebacker. You know what? Wouldn't shock me if they have him as listed as a defensive end, which could be a outside linebacker in a 3-4, even though they have a quote-unquote defensive end. So there you go.
Look, some things are just semantics and not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at we got to look at linebackers in general because the way they have it listed. Because they go left outside, left inside, right inside, right outside is the way they have it.
What you don't have the ability to pair the outsides together and the inside?
I can, yeah. I just thought I would, just in case anyone was following along at home, I wouldn't confuse them too much. And also, I know you've had a long day, bro. I didn't want to confuse you, just to make sure it's okay.
Dave, you can't confuse me.
I could if I wanted to, but not about Steelers. Well, maybe, but no, probably not. But I have no reason to do it. All right, so we'll go outside linebackers. T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith. No surprise.
No surprise.
Then behind them, going left to
little
right.
Surprise in the next grouping.
Yeah. They have Jack Sawyer or DeMarvin Leal, and then Nick Herbig. Yep. So they're ready to put Sawyer up there with an or with Leal as not taking any snaps as the rookie. but not further along. Then you have Ekuleota behind Herbig and Julius Welschoff behind Sawyer and Leal. That's what we have. Do you see them keeping more than 4? Without, now that Jeremiah Moon is on IR? Actually, no. He's not on IR. He was released with an injury settlement.
Put it this way: they could, but then you got to take that from somewhere else. You got to kind of decide where you want that position to be.
Yeah, like honestly, I would feel like you would almost have to feel like he gives you something as emergency depth at the defensive line, and you'd keep one less guy there. But I don't know why, if you don't want to keep 5 there or even 6 there. I think I'd be keeping 7. I don't know they want to do that. I don't think you'd rather have him to do the special teams that you need, that you might get from an inside linebacker, an extra inside linebacker. I still think it's tough for Leal to make it. I do. Doesn't mean that he can't. He's got 3 games to really prove himself, but he's a guy I haven't heard. I think he recovered a fumble today on the last snap of 7 shots, but that was more about Jack Sawyer getting the fumble than it was Leal getting on it. So obviously they were both on the field at the same time. When you look at that as an or, so they can't. It's not like they're both on just on one side. Who knows? They might have even had 3 outside linebackers out there at the time. Anything else about the outside? Or are you ready to go to inside?
Let's go inside.
Let's go inside. Inside. Some people were surprised that it was Peyton Wilson next to Patrick Queen. I wasn't surprised. I know a lot of other places had that throughout the offseason. I just wanted to see the Steelers actually say it. Some people thought that it would be Holcomb and not Wilson, but I thought it would be Wilson, but I didn't think it was as definite as what some people felt. Okay, so it's Queen and Wilson one.
Nothing says that can't change either.
Yeah, Harrison and Holcomb is the second. Mark Robinson and Devin Harper as the third group, and then Carson Bruner. I have not heard Bruner's name hardly at all during training camp.
Me either.
Unless he does some crazy stuff during these preseason games, he is a candidate to be like, all right, you're going to start off on the practice squad. He is. Yes. Especially as much as we have been hearing Mark Robinson.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Robinson is having a pretty good camp so far.
Yeah. Now let's see what it looks like in the preseason games. So that's really going to come down to a lot of it there. So, I mean, I'm not shocked that Bruner was that low. Honestly, I thought Bruner might have been with the third team, which wouldn't have surprised me, but the last guy there, that's tough. That's tough. So, but like I said, Mark Robinson was with the Steelers every game last year. I don't think he played any defensive snaps. No, he played a few. It was Tyler Matakevich that didn't play a single defensive snap. The other,
correct.
Yes. Yeah, the other outside linebacker. So he had a few. All right, you ready for corner?
Yep.
I'm not shocked by this at all that the Steelers managed to get all 3 cornerbacks in the starting unit, because it's left corner Darius Slay, right corner Joey Porter, and nickel Jalen Ramsey. I'm trying to remember if Joey Porter was listed as right or left last year. I don't know that it really matters. But there you go. You got Slay, Porter, Ramsey. That's your top group. Then your second group, Trice, who's injured. Eccles as the next outside backer or outside corner behind Porter. And then Beanie Bishop is the next nickel. Okay? Nothing overly surprising there. Right?
Right.
Then you've got Cameron McCutcheon outside, James Pierre outside, Dante Kent as the nickel. And then you have another outside in Kyler McMichael and another nickel in Deshaun Jameson. To me, Dante Kent's in a walking boot.
Wait a minute.
What's up?
Daryl Porter?
Oh, that got added on since I had this, because he was added to the roster after it came out.
Yeah.
So they might have changed that on the website.
They did.
But I'm looking at the press release. So thanks for saying that. That is important because
Yep.
he did get at it. I'm not going to be shocked to see James Pierre move ahead of Corey Trice if Corey Trice is injured and can't play in the preseason.
And Pierre's had a decent camp.
Yeah. And it's not that Trice has had a bad one, but my goodness, it is the third year that you're dealing with an injury. And last year, what was it they were dealing with him with? Hamstring. What's he dealing with right now? Hamstring.
Yep.
And it's funny because here we go. We've got Brian Brown saying, Trice, I hope, doesn't wind up like Goldston. Trice can never be Goldston. Goldson. I said it wrong. Never. Ever. Because Trice was a 7th-round pick and Goldston was a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
So if Corey Trice is just said, you know what, we got to move on from you. You're never your worst ability is your availability. Then you're out a 7th-round pick. Now, part of the reason he was a 7th-round pick was because there were injury concerns.
Yep.
So, which is a shame because I think he does have some ability. I know this crushes Ed, who's a commenter that we have on the website that constantly is talking about how it needs to be Porter and Trice that are starters.
Well,
but he
you know,
also
he's-
wants 4 preseason games, and he thinks that the Steelers can take a player from an HBCU at any point in the process. Not that they actually have to be drafted or anything like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to think that it's going to be tough for Corey Trice to make this team.
Yeah, if he can't get back on the field soon, he needs to be back on the field by next week and be playing by the second preseason game to show what he can do, or his chances of being on the 53 is small.
And James Pierre is a good gunner. He is. He adds something to you that you can use on Sundays.
Yeah, he's not just the depth piece.
Yeah. He's a key special teams guy. So I hadn't included James Pierre on any of my predictions so far for the 53-man roster. If we had one before the first preseason game, he'd be there in it already. He would, for me. So, you know, it is what it is. The other question is, Beanie Bishop is even one that could be questionable to make the team, depending on how they're going to utilize him. So I would like to see just a little bit more out of him.
Yep.
I think at this point, Dante Cantu's in a walking boot. No, I wouldn't be shocked for him to eventually go on IR. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers had 2 quote unquote designated to return players for IR to start the season that you're allowed to have like they had last year. If those 2 players were Will Howard and Dante Kent, that would not shock me
Yeah.
at all. So, yeah. So
Still a lot to go on between now and then before you could write that one in pen.
yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, you know, James Pierre is showing that he's good depth and the gunner. But the other thing is what happens if all of a sudden he's not available? Because right now that's his best ability over Corey Trice is his availability. Let's go ahead and hit safety. This was not surprising. The only thing what would have surprised me here is if they would have put Jalen Ramsey in the safety group and not the corner group. That would have surprised me.
Yeah. Would have surprised me as well.
But the fact that they could do it the way they did, I think, was the smart way to do it. So your first team safeties are, you know, this is going free then strong. Is Juan Thornhill, then Deshaun Elliott. Yeah, Juan Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott. I said it wrong. Then Miles Killebrew, Chuck Clark as your 2s. Quindell Johnson and Sebastian Castro as your 3s.
Yep.
I had Sebastian Castro as an undrafted free agent squeezing on the 53 before because I didn't know any better. But now that the Steelers have brought in Chuck Clark, I think Castro is more of a practice squad guy.
Yep.
Unless he really shows a lot in these 3 games. I
Agreed.
think I'm not surprised by this one bit, by this depth chart.
No. It's actually funny. There were really a lot less surprises to me this year than the past two. Maybe it's because I feel like we're finally filling out the rooms the way they should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there was. Now, we've got to get into the most shocking of them all because
Yes.
we don't have a lot of time left.
No.
Most shocking of them all. We got to go to special teams. Rich,
All right.
who's the
this
punter?
That's right. The punter is either Corliss Waitman or Cameron Johnson. There's no depth to it. This is the one that I think we got to watch during the preseason. This is going to be an actual battle for the punting position for the Steelers.
Yeah.
It's going to be decided in camp in the preseason.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, by listing them both there, that might kind of show some other teams, oh, maybe we should be paying attention to the Steelers punter, and who's not going to be there. Okay, so I think that, so they're both listed. It's an or for both Waitman and Johnson, and they're also both listed the same as the holder.
Yep.
No surprises with Boswell than Sauls. No surprises with the long snapper with Kuntz and then Tucker Addington. The kick returners. The kickoff return, they only listed two. They listed Gainwell and Jalen Warren. Not shocked if they were only going to list two, that they would be the two. I thought they might list three, but they didn't. Because Jalen Warren did it last year. Kenneth Gainwell obviously is in place of Cordero Patterson. And then for punt return, there's Calvin Austin III. They have Scotty Miller as the backup. The fact that it's not someone like Dante Kent, who was as a defensive guy, especially because he's injured, goes to tell me that, he's probably not going to find a way to squeeze on.
Yeah.
So that's that. I do want to bring up one thing before we get to our 5 minutes. Rich, you make a decision on the 5 minutes while I bring this up. And this is from John Malesko. He says, don't they have to make the 53 initially before they put them on IR designated to return? So they would have to cut two players they wanted to keep and subject them to waiver wire. It went away before. The answer to that is no. That was a rule change last year. That's what I was referring to. There was a new thing that started last year that you can, when you announce your 53-man roster, you can put two players designated to return that don't have to spend 24 hours on the 53-man roster first. That was new last year, and it came this year. So only two. And they definitely count as designated return. If they don't return, doesn't matter. It still counts as one of your, I think, 8 designated returns. So just thought I'd get the right info out there. Rich, what are we looking at here for our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk?
Actually, Dave, we had one good one that was put in the live chat new tonight. And we had one good one in particular from the list before.
You want to get, if we have a good one from tonight, you just want to go with a good one from tonight?
Okay, well, let me tell you what it is, and then you tell me if you want to go with it. Okay, so the one that was out there tonight was, let's see, hold on, my phone's little. Nicholas Gabriel said, your favorite musician, band, group of all time. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that tonight, Dave?
We could.
Then talk about it.
All right. I'm going to let you start because I know your answer.
Oh, you think you know my answer?
Yeah. I'm not saying you just have one answer, but I know at least two names that you're going to mention.
Well, Dave, why don't you tell me who those two names are?
I think those two names is you are going to mention the Beatles. And I think you're also going to mention the Wood Brothers.
Oh, no, actually, the one I thought you were going to say second was the Rolling Stones.
Oh, no. I said, I thought you were going to say Beatles and Wood Brothers. So where are yours in the hierarchy of everything?
Well,
of your
you know, instead of talking favorite, okay, why don't we do this? Okay, because I have fun doing these, Dave. Mm-hmm. Why don't you give me your Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore of it could either be bands or
groups, or even single artists. You know, what is your Mount Rushmore of musicians?
But the thing is, and that's the thing that's crazy about this. This doesn't mean that you have to think they're the best musicians. It's your favorite ones. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not the best ones. It's my personal favorites.
Yes. If we were going to make a monument here for you of your favorite ones, what are your 4 favorite ones that are on there?
Four favorite groups. Okay. And what's sad is I just listen to so much and so many different things of music that I have to. I don't know who my four are. If you know who your four are, you could go so I could try to get mine in my head as I'm thinking about it.
Okay, I've got at least three of them right now off the bat. So I'm probably going to get that the Beatles. They're probably
Yeah.
my all-time favorite. I'm going with next with the Police.
Oh yeah, they are really good.
Okay, love the Police. Believe it or not, I'm going with one. Some people may think I'm weird here, but I just like a lot of their music. I'm a big fan of Depeche Mode. So they are on my Mount Rushmore. And
Reach out and touch faith. Sorry.
oh man, that last one is tough. You know what? Me personally, trying to think of what I got a lot. You know what? For me personally, I have to put the Wood Brothers there because I think about
I do it.
I think about
Yeah,
what
you
my
love the Wood Brothers.
I think about what my Spotify looks like.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the four groups that I have the most songs of on my Spotify.
Yes.
So those
Okay.
would be my four.
Okay. So I've got my four now. And it's funny, if I think about this more, I could very well change it. But I have to just go with it on the fly. And it's going to be two that are what I would consider more classics, and two from my, teenage 20 years is what mine would be. Okay. So which do you want first? Do you want the classics or do you
care.
want the? Okay. So my two from my more recent years are Third Eye Blind
Okay.
and Weezer.
Oh man, that Weezer could have been my fourth one. I love Weezer too.
Yeah. So I would go there, and then probably Green Day would be my would be my next up.
Green Day.
Yeah. So they had some good stuff. That no, only because that was my first CD I ever had. My first CD I ever owned was Green Day Dookie. All right. So you ready? The classics. I think I could give you 10 guesses and I don't think you'd get them.
Oh, probably. No, probably not.
You ready?
Go for it.
The one that's the furthest back, 3 letters. CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Okay. Yes, I know
Love
you're a
them.
huge CCR fan.
Love them. And the other one, I am not homerizing it. I would listen to this greatest hits album all the time. Don't just think of it because this is a Steelers podcast. But it sticks.
I was going to joke and say stick. I was going to do my Pittsburgh dad, voice and be like, "Oh, greatest group of all time, Sticks."
Yeah. I mean, that is. I mean, I love their greatest hits album. It's just so many good songs. Of course, Renegade is Renegade, but so many. I mean, like, I think if you told me I had to do karaoke right now and I had to pick one song, if I narrowed it down to 5, I know "Come Sail Away" would be one of the 5. That would be so. Yeah, so that's me. That's the time. That's a good question. Rich, we're running short on time at the end because we had that breaking news at the beginning. If you're just joining us now, yeah, we're bummed. It looks like Will Howard's going to be out at least 3 weeks, which means no preseason games for him. Yeah. So lots of great bands thrown out here in the live chat. That was wonderful. But now it is time for our big question. Don't put it out there yet until I have it. I'll get it out there soon. Rich, we haven't been able to do it for forever. It's our weekly question. The Steelers play. I don't care that it's preseason. They go to Jacksonville, play the Jaguars. You got to give me a score for Saturday night.
Okay, I will give you a score for Saturday night. Very tough to do for the first preseason game in particular because you're basing it off of practice.
Yes.
But, what the heck? I'm going Steelers 19, Jagoffs 16.
Wow, our scores are actually quite close.
Okay.
The only difference is I have the Steelers, because I already came up with it. I have the Steelers. I went ahead and put that out there so you all can get that, because we do sometimes do lag a little bit here. I have the Steelers scoring an additional touchdown. I've got Steelers 26, Jags 16.
Okay.
That's the score I'm going with. So if you all have a score, put it out there. We'll try to get this going. Still got a lot of people talking about their music, which is great stuff. Hey, Afton had 1916. I wonder if she had that in there and typed up, ready to go before you even said yours. Gabriel Golden says 24-13 Jags, which honestly wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers, I mean, did they go 0-3 last year? I'm pretty sure they went 0-3 last year, didn't they? Yeah. Because honestly, remember,
end,
winning the
me,
game is not what's important in these games.
It's not.
Yeah.
Because the game's most of the time decided in the fourth quarter by guys that aren't going to be on the team.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know who's playing and who's not for Jacksonville yet either. Nicholas Gabriel's got 23-17 Steelers. Matt Katz got 24-14 Steelers. Hey, got to remind people the rules. If you just put in a number, we're assuming that you're saying that the Steelers win. So you can do that, but just make sure everybody knows. Here we go. We got Brian Brown trying to do more than a score, but he says 27-6 Steelers because he likes Mason. We still got people putting in their Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
By the way, it's been good. People, some
really
had
good
some
ones.
Really
in there,
good
yeah.
ones.
Yep. Oh yeah, Michael Jackson.
That's who I almost. That's who
I
I
don't.
almost
How
went
did I
with
know?
instead of the-
How did I do that one?
Look, I almost went with that instead of the Wood Brothers, except for me, I had to think back. No, I only have like a couple of Michael Jackson songs on my Spotify, and I got a ton of the Wood Brothers. So
I don't have Spotify, but I have Michael Jackson songs. But part of that is because of my kids like Michael Jackson too. All right, Mark Tobin, he's got 20-10 Steelers. George OTJ has Jags 20-14. Then we have, let's see if I can get this up here. We've got John Malesko with 31-17 Steelers. Hey, I'd be ecstatic if the Steelers could put up 31 points in a preseason game. Because remember, the offenses are generally what's lagging behind in the preseason. David Poe says 17-13 Steelers. And we've also got Jamie Carlos saying 23-10 good guys. Yeah, some people still talking about everything there. Brian says he didn't know the rule. The rule is you're just supposed to put your score, not an explanation to it. But anyway, that's okay for now. Those are still Mount Rushmore stuff. So I'm going to say this. Schedule this week. I still haven't checked to see if Steel City Insiders on Wednesday or Thursday this week. It all depends on Jim's schedule with what's going on with the team. Other than that, we have a very similar schedule with our podcasts, other than there'll be a post-game show Saturday night. And because of that, there won't be an unpopular opinion Sunday morning. That'll be our schedule for the next 2 weeks. So that's going to be nice to be back on a post-game show with Jeff and Brian. Make sure you're checking out the website, steelcurtnetwork.com. Still have a lot of stuff going. I'm still doing the trackers through training camp, and I'll even do one the day that the Steelers have their workout with or their practice with the Buccaneers at the stadium if I have the information for it. So I'm only down to like four more trackers in Latrobe and one possibly at the stadium. And that's it. That's how close we are to the end of training camp. Here I got another one coming in. Rebecca Arnold says Steelers 17, Jags 14. So there we are. Rich, we almost kept it in time, but not quite, because now I'm going to turn it over to you. What do you have to say to close this out tonight?
Hey, we're getting ready for preseason. That's going to be football on the field, on my television, me sitting on my couch, me getting my preseason together, writing a knee-jerk reaction, trying to figure out who guys are on the field.
Which I will have an article by number telling you everybody on the roster for Saturday. That's another good reason to go to steelcurtnetwork.com. Thanks,
And
Rich.
I will have that on my computer while I'm actually doing my article on my phone. so that I can try to keep track, and probably will have Kyle helping me saying, hey, what number was that? And he'll, so, but it's still fun because why? It's Steelers football. Preseason's here. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.